This build is so good that it carries you through your own screw-ups. You don't need to hit walls on your Wind Serpent's Fury to one-shot tier 4 bosses. If you have one Frenzy Charge, you're still doing 12 million damage in one hit. And if you can't dodge, your body armor will take care of that for you as well and dodge the hits for you. It's truly, truly incredible. Howdy my dudes, Random Fight Fan here, and my long-awaited update to the Javazon Deadeye Lightning just spear-chucking goddess is finally here. I've had many requests for it, and I'm happy to bring it to you. So first things first, I want to give out a special shout-out to Juan. He donated quite a few things that allowed me to really dive deep into this to improve it to an astronomical level that I'm very proud with. But the main things to show off is a plus 30 Spirit Corrupted helmet. That is still a really good helmet. And the other extremely big ticket item is this From Nothing Diamond with Dance with Death. These items are not required for the build, but they definitely help. The Dance with Death saves you 8 passive points on the tree, which we use to get Harness the Elements, which honestly would be good to get even without it, because it's an incredibly powerful node. But then just more utility, coming for survivability and movement speed, and we're going to be getting a whole bunch of movement speed because our damage is so nuts. This one-shots all tier 4 Pinnacle content. This effortlessly goes through maps, and it's incredibly tanky thanks to Hyrri's ire with evading all hits. And when we have blind on a target, which was all the time thanks to blind support on Stormlance and also blinding strike, we have 92% chance to evade hits against all monsters. You gotta stack up your Tailwind for it, but it's actually really easy to stack up Tailwind. And if you want to make it even easier, you could put it on Spear Stab and just... actually, you should put Martial Tempo on it as well to make it stab even faster. I do not have that, so lots of different ways to improve this and make this feel ridiculous. So first things first, let's go over the gear. You're going to have a Tangle Tongue, of course. Everybody's using Tangle Tongue now. It's absolutely fantastic. It's ridiculously strong, and it magnifies the effect of all the added damage sources on your gear. And then, of course, we take more advantage of that by pumping it harder with Ingenuity. We finally got enough added damage sources so that the crit damage bonus on the spear is actually a better roll instead of just flat damage. But this adds 2 to 41, well, adds any corrupted lightning damage or corrupted crit damage, then a lightning rune on there is essential, because we need to balance one skill for how my setup is. You could change this out and not need balanced setups, but as you can see, I have lightning spear and fire damage, or lightning damage and fire damage on my Stormlance when I'm doing frenzy charge, or even just the lodge spear, same thing, it's kind of balanced. And you can see how well that works even outside of the boss arena. You don't need to fight the boss. You can test this in your hideout right now. You can drop down your Stormlance and test the damage by putting down your frost walls, and you can see it completely maxes out your resonance instantly, and that's what will happen with bossing. On top of that, because this is doing cold explosions all over the place, your cold resonance will be maxed as well. This is an extremely fast, easy, and consistent way to get max resonance with Trinity against all bosses, and I'm very happy with it. When you're mapping, though, Frostwall can be a little bit in the way, so you could use Frostbolt if you like. I like to use Bone Cage, though, and just do that one little swap. And then Bone Cage, what its purpose is, it takes advantage of the Sacred Flame to get a little bit of fire damage on there, same as the video I put out a couple days ago. And that smacks targets around the map all the time, and gives you max Trinity stacks, which, while not as necessarily required, is really nice because it gives you that nice 15% increased attack speed. Now, there's a lot of people who want Rhoa. I understand Rhoa is great for a lot of people. Every time I've used it, though, I didn't feel the wow factor from it. Rhoa for me, I mean, it doesn't give you any extra movement speed. That's the first downside. All it does is take away the slowdown that you have when you're throwing your spear, but since I'm throwing my spear like once every 3 seconds, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm still, even with the Rhoa, getting stopped by mobs that you're face checking into, or any door you have to interact with, or anytime you have to pick up loot, so I don't really feel the speed on there. But what I do feel with Rhoa is the slowdown every time you have to do an interactable object or going in and out of maps. But there is a tech to get that on there if you really want to, so it's really easy not having to do gem swaps all the time. And it's an unset ring. You can have one on your build all the time. If you don't, like me, you can just put out any random unset ring, swap out like this, and put your ring back. And now you have Rhoa. And then when you're done mapping and doing all that jazz and you want to do Pinnacle content, then you would just do this, put your Rhoa back down into the corner, put baby in the corner, and now you got your critical back. That is a nice way to flip around there, but yeah, those are the few questions that I thought people would definitely have to bring up initially, but yeah, back to the gear here. We have all the sources of added damage. You're going to want as much physical and lightning as you can. Cold is also really nice because it helps freezing with maps, which is ridiculously good with Combat Frenzy. However, if you have a controller, you're not going to want to use Combat Frenzy because you don't need it with a controller. Cast on Crit with Sniper's Mark works perfectly that way. Unfortunately, with mouse and keyboard, Cast on Critical Sniper's Mark does not work while mapping, only against bosses. So for right now, we still have Combat Frenzy. Hopefully they fix it, because I'd love to use Sniper's Mark instead, drop Combat Frenzy, and put in Ghost Dance. So if you have a controller, I'd say drop Combat Frenzy for Ghost Dance. Or, alternatively, if you don't have the helmet, you just wouldn't have Combat Frenzy. There is a lot of Spirit in here, which is really easy to get with a Sacred Flame, with the Spirit from the hair rune, whatever, plus any Beacon of Aziz. All of them will have at least 40 spirit, which is all you'll need. This corrupted spirit on here allows me to have Herald of Thunder without any other fighting or interaction or anything like that. But if you didn't have the spirit helmet, you could drop Herald of Thunder. If you didn't have controller, or if you use controller, you could drop Combat Frenzy. Or if you're willing to make a sacrifice, instead of Cast on Critical, you could use Cast on Freeze, and then Herald of Thunder will give you freezes all over the place. The issue is, Cast on Freeze doesn't work well against bosses, whereas Cast on Critical is incredible. So it's dependent on the content you want to do, but this is the strengths of the build here. And now, Hyrri's Ire. This is absolutely what the build is built around. I really love this chest piece. It is fantastic. It takes advantage of all your evasion without nuking it like acrobatics. It gives you the effective acrobatics. You're avoiding one-shot boss mechanics. I did a really poor run of an Arbiter, and when he's doing the bomb drops, I missed 3 of them. And 3 of them did 0 damage to me, and I was just like, yay, Hyrri, woo, because this thing is so absolutely incredibly powerful. I love this chest piece, and of course, I YOLO corrupted it, and I got a 3rd socket, so yay me. We're using Ingenuity to buff the damage and the resistances from the rings even further. You're just going to be taking advantage of all the damage you can. This is the way to go. I just realized something. I have cold mod here, but I no longer need... Where's the button I need? Here it is. I no longer need all that cold res, so I could pump out some more physical damage on here and balance my lightning even more. Fun thing to see in video. And yeah, here for the gloves, you could use the... can't remember, Hands of Wisdom in Action, and you could if you wanted to pump your intelligence and everything, but that's a big requirement for gear that I was not able to make. But what I was able to do was get a ridiculously good pair of gloves. I bought these for 8 divine, and then it had 2 damage mods plus crit damage and those beautiful suffixes, and then I put one of the omens, I can't remember which one, Whittling probably, and I hit the tier 8 physical. This here was ridiculously lucky, and I know not everybody will get that luck, but you know what? I am happy to have it, and to show you how much damage these gloves do, it'll be a little bit... I actually can't show you because when I take it off, I'll lose that. But yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of damage that all these sources of added damage do, thanks to Tangle Tongue. Now finally, the last absolutely essential item is a mana flask with increased charges. If you could have 70% increased charges, it's even better. I got 65 because it cost me basically nothing. I think this was an Exalt. And this gives me, I think, 74% damage as extra lightning damage thanks to Ambrosia. 3% of damage as extra lightning per mana flask charge, and it uses 20% of your maximum. It is a stupid amount of damage. All of this comes together for just a beautiful build, honestly. And finally, the last thing you can have is the Forsaken Bangle on here. It's pretty cheap as well. Chaos Res, 18% Chaos Res, and gives you some recoup when you do take Chaos damage. And overall, it brings my Chaos Res up to 62%. And I am very happy with that. Now, with the skills here, you're still able to take advantage of the free spirit on your purity auras from any sort of scepter, and since we're using Sacred Flame with Purity of Fire, we are taking advantage of all of it, because why not? We'd be stupid not to. Spear Stab doesn't matter. You can use it to charge up Tailwind if you like to. I'd say put on Martial Tempo on here for sure, because you don't really care about it for anything else, and maybe the other one that gives more attack speed on top of it. But for the ones that actually really matter, your Wind Serpent's Fury, this is your number one. You're going to want to max it out first. And to take full advantage of it, we're getting Pursuit, because we always use it after dropping a Stormlance. We got Concentrated Effect, because it's a huge amount of free damage. We got Ambrosia, because it's an enormous amount of free damage. We have Excoriate, because it's 10% more melee damage for each elemental ailment on enemies they hit. And we are getting Shocks from Stormlance, Chill from Stormlance, or potentially even Herald of Thunder or Frostwall. And we're also getting Ignites from Stormlance thanks to all that damage of all the 3 different types. It works so well together. It's just beautiful. Excoriate is an absolute 10 out of 10 support gem. And because of how powerful this is, I was desperately trying to figure out how I could get some Freeze or Electrocute on the build. I tried so many ways. I've got my Herald of Thunder up, like doing crazy cold damage. Hey, Beverly. I love you too, girl. I know. Oh, girl. Sorry, you're gonna have to get off, baby. But this here just did not build up against bosses, unfortunately. I tried so hard against Tier 4 Arbiter, but it wouldn't stack. I even got this up to level 21 thanks to a Lightning Mastery by corrupting Trinity to give +1 levels, and then only putting 2 masteries on there. And the reason for it is because when you have level 21 Herald of Thunder, you get 6 bolts. When it's level 20, you only get 5 bolts. That's with quality, obviously. You need quality to give the extra 2 attacks. But even then, it didn't work. I tried then changing Embitter and Ice Bite onto Lightning Spear, and then making Lightning Spear cold and Herald of Thunder all lightning with Neural Overload and Electrocute, and it still did not electrocute. If I'm missing something and there is a way to freeze or electrocute the boss consistently, preferably with Herald of Thunder, I would love for you guys to let me know, but that one I do not know. So... and then finally, overextend on Wind Serpent. All this, it's just a ridiculous amount of damage. Your Wind Serpent, yeah, it basically has infinite damage. And on top of that, how you're going to want to work with Wind Serpent is using the Shockwave. I can still one-shot Tier 4 Zesht without it because of how much damage this does, but the Shockwave is incredible amount of damage as well. 272% damage when it hits the wall for a 2-meter radius, and it does it for every serpent, so that is doing massive amounts more damage if you hit them into a wall. So when you're doing your Wind Serpents, make sure angle them towards the surface. Now for your Lightning Spear, Innervate just fits very well in there. I know a lot of people want to put Innervate into Herald of Thunder, but every time I tried that, it was extremely inconsistent because they need to survive the Lightning Spear, and then be killed by Herald of Thunder for you to get Innervate that way. Whereas if you have Innervate on Lightning Spear, you're getting Innervate 100% uptime, and you're also getting Ice Bite 100% uptime from the Herald of Thunder. I feel like this is a better combo. Now, Primal Armament in here, it just fits very well. It's very powerful. Same thing with Fork and Volt. They're absolutely wonderful. And then Longshot is another really nice damage support in there that I just think fits very well. I have taken Infernal Cry out of cast on critical so that I can use the Bone Cage for mapping to give max Trinity stacks, and also Frostwall while mapping to get max Trinity stacks. If you didn't want that, you could actually manual cast Frostwall for your bossing and use it with Font of Rage, but there is a downside to that. While you will have the full 30 Rage as the boss starts, which is quite nice, what you won't have is Raging Cry on your Infernal Cry, because you need Premeditation and Enrage Warcry on your Infernal Cry. And if you were also to put in Raging Cry, you'd lose Ingenuity, which loses you a half-second cooldown on your Sniper's Mark, which is very unfortunate. So for that reason, I am having this be my setup when I'm going through bosses. And it's actually not a problem, because thanks to Raging Cry, when you pop 2 rages against your boss like that, if it's a unique boss, which all of them are, you get 22 rage anyways. And that stays up for enough time for you to drop your Stormlance, double rage, Wind Serpent. And then the boss is just dead. That's all Pinnacle bosses. It's very powerful, very smooth, and I'm very happy with it. The Trinity, like I said, I corrupted it to give +1 levels so that I could get the extra mastery skill onto my Herald of Thunder. You don't need to. It's just something I did to try, and it gave me the extra attack on buff. It's fun, but you really don't need to. All you need to do is get it to level 23 any way you can. The easiest way is to get a level 20 skill gem and put the 3 masteries in there. And then, yeah, you quality it, obviously, to give the 15% increased attack speed. And then when you're at level 23, you get 7% more elemental damage per 30 resonance instead of 6. And that comes out to 9% more damage than you would if it was only level 20, 21, or 22. Which is quite a bit, but all min-maxy here. Your Stormlance here, I probably should get this to level 20 as well, but it's really not essential. But absolutely essential skills on here is Scattershot, so that it throws all 3, so all 3 of them give the charge explosion. Deliberate was just nice to have. But then Overcharge and Commiserate are essential. Overcharge gives you 10% more damage on shock effect, because that 50% magnitude is huge. And then Commiserate, it doesn't give you the increased magnitude, unfortunately, but what it does do is take off the reflected shock, which essentially means you don't take 39% more damage. And then we also tossed Blind on there. Again, we don't really need the damage, so why not give utility? Why not give survivability? Why not make us feel tanky and smooth and clear and good? And oh, this works nice. I am in love with this setup, and I have no intention on changing it, except for maybe even dropping Deliberation for something with more utility. But as it stands, Deliberation is basically just free 20% more damage, because we don't care about the movement speed penalty when we do rar, rar, and then smack. That's our thing. We don't even really need to move. Now, our cast on critical. Astral Projection is essential to work with Bone Cage, but it is not being used with Frostwall. Before, what I had in there was, I think it's called Inspiration, the one that makes it cost less mana to cast, but I have since put in this Recover 1% max mana on kill, and that is enough. That's enough to keep my mana topped up all throughout maps. You can even get a 2% max mana on kill on here, and it'd feel even better. Now, finally, Spell Cascade is an absolutely essential support gem to have, though, because it multicast Bone Cage, which gives you even more of those fire charges for proccing in maps all over the place. And without Spell Cascade, and you throw this down, one cast is only 3 explosions. Whereas with Spell Cascade, one cast is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is ridiculously powerful. Spell Echo will bring it up to 6, but Cascade being 9 hits with it, this is the way to go. It works with Bone Cage, it works with Frost Nova. or Frost Walls, you're going to want Spell Cascade. Wind Dancer, not too important to really max out, but I got Unbreakable in there for the Sun Threshold. You're really not getting hit that much because of how your evasion Hyrri's Ire, but when it does go, I got Pin on there. It does literally nothing. It's just for the sake of potentially working with Combat Frenzy a little bit. Magnified Effect is actually really good though, because it means when you do get hit, things in a larger area are knocked out, because the buff Gale Force from Wind Dancer is actually a ton of damage. More damage per stage, 50% more. It is huge. And now finally, Energy Barrier. Yeah, this is just really nice. So when you get popped, your energy shield starts charging again right away. Really like it. Now finally, your Herald of Thunder has a very specific way of being put together, and that is the +1 level gives it the extra bolt. Not necessary because it refreshes so fast, but the things that are necessary are Immolate, Ice Bite, Embitter, and Glaciation. This combo means you will be freezing everything all the time, even in ailment resistant maps. I got a video up right now of like 150 something % ailment resistant maps, and with this combo it is breezing through them. Embitter takes any extra damage to be as cold, so it's taking the damage from Sacred Flame, making it cold. It's taking Ice Bite, making the cold some more cold, taking the Innervate, making that more cold, and Immolate, if you're hitting anything that survived the hit from Lightning Spear will ignite, and then this will give you 30% more cold damage. It's a very powerful combo. You could drop Lightning Mastery for anything else you wanted to, but this here works for me. And then, yeah, Glaciation just makes it so it works in ailment resistant maps, no problem. Rhoa, I got Elemental Army, Meat Shield, Loyalty, and Minion Mastery, because why not? They're whatever. But if you don't have the plus the Spirit Helmet, there are some other things that I think would be good. First of all, I'm not a fan of Rhoa. I don't like how it feels, but what is good is the Thunderous Leap. That is, in my opinion, a better mobility skill, and allows you to get up and down ledges. You could drop that in there very well. You could also use, well, Frost Wall if you wanted to, onto with what's the word I'm looking for here? Font of Rage, and then you wouldn't have to make any swaps at all. You could leave in Bone Cage, put in the Frost Walls there, and only have it manual cast, so it's never going off in maps. You could put Orb Storms in there, which a lot of people use. There's a lot of different things you can put in there, but it's entirely up to preference. And again, if you were to, say, swap out Cast on Critical with like Cast on Freeze, it would really nerf you for bossing, but it would save you some mana. Another thing that does work kind of decently, but you have to use the automated tech that I did last season, where you do like the numlock key, or using like a one button clicker, you press E or something and then it holds the E button for you. It works very well, and what you do is elemental, actually I'll just show you this right here, Elemental Invocation, because it charges almost as fast as Cast on Critical, because you're going to be getting the Shocks, Ignites, and Chills off, but the Chills don't count for this, only the Freezes, so you need to be getting enough charges off to make it worthwhile. This will save you 30 Spirit and will allow you to use Herald of Thunder, but you need to have something to essentially automate this so that it feels good, or else if you're only going to be using for bossing, because this literally is only for bossing, put it on like the E key, and when it comes to bossing, you just hold the E key down, so when things are ready, boom, you're ready to go. That is a valid option, but I like Cast on Critical with this one too much, because we have literally 100% crit chance. Now, that is the skills, that is the gear. The other things that are really important, like I said, there is the From Nothing Diamond here for Dance with Death. Not essential, but what is essential is having really good jewels. I like having max mana on kill because it's just nice utility. Magnitude of Ailments is crazy good. Crit chance is absolutely essential, and having some sort of corruption on there is always a plus. Just like this one here, this is a perfect 5 module. It's incredibly good. That evasion is wonderful. The attack speed is lovely. The crit chance and the damage against uniques, oh my, yes. Now finally, this here is my basically joy, my best jewel for sure, and this is 24% increased effective notable passive skills and radius. If we were a monk, we'd also take advantage of these guys, which would be incredible, But what we're getting here is a big boost to crit chance, and then we're also taking the extra crit damage on here. Yeah, that's also getting boosted because it's on a notable. So instead of 8%, it's 9%. Our crit chance instead of 25 is 31. Our crit damage instead of 35 is 43, plus another 9. And then it also boosts the strength. And ridiculously, it also boosts the flat plus 1% to crit chance is now 1.24 flat crit chance. So it's essentially working even better with Tangle Tongue. It's nuts. And then we are also getting a couple of small passive nodes on here, which are boosted even more, which is actually tempting me to get this crit damage node on one of my next things. And as I will show you on the tree here, why it is so unbelievably good. But now, if you didn't have that ridiculous from nothing, you could just get something else like this, more attack damage, crit chance, magnitude, or something like this with evade chance, attack speed, blind effect. These are all really good nodes. These are very much worth using. But here I've put together the path of buildings for you guys. First things first, this one is mine with the from nothing. What we are doing to take advantage of it, we are coming down to harness the elements, and the reason for it is an insane amount of damage. Like, what's that, 3.5 million damage there? That's nuts. And we are then using it to come around to get more survivability and utility because that movement speed is lovely. This is for level 95. At level 96, we would take these out and come out here for 4% more movement speed, which would bring us up even higher. And then the next 2 levels would bring us towards escape velocity for even more movement speed. And yes, it works very well. And then that would be, what, 96, 97, 98. If we were ever to get to 99, we would just take this guy, boom, a bunch of damage. And you will see that based on the other tree that I have for the non-super dodge, I went very little increased DPS because I'm still coming down here. I'm getting all these nodes. And that's even without getting harnessed the elements. But it's getting a bunch of little things all over the place. But what it's not getting is the fun utility and survivability. So, like, I'm not entirely too sure how it's calculating the effective hit pool. But I got 9,300 effective health and 5k chaos max hit. Meanwhile, and with all the same stats here. Meanwhile, when we come back to here, it goes up to 15k with an 8k chaos max hit. It's a lot more survivable. I got a bunch more movement speed, and it feels a lot smoother. Like, this here is definitely the way to go if you can, but 100% not required. The differences between the trees is literally just coming down for harness the elements, but if you could get it elsewhere, I would suggest putting it on as well. On this tree, you could change a few things out. Like, obviously, you could drop out Maiming Strike to get harness the elements with +1 level. Let's just say, so it does give more damage for sure, but it's making you lose utility. When we're getting the, where is it? Oh, it's not on this one here. When we're getting the, right here, the from nothing diamond, you're not losing utility. You are losing a gem slot, though, which is really hard to make up for, which is why I was happy to see that it actually does make up for it. The downside is, yeah, it's very expensive, so I'm not saying get this for sure. It's just if you have the disposable income, it is kind of worth it because you have enough damage to get around it. Now, I'm saying like, hey, yeah, we have very little difference in damage, but that's very misleading. If I wanted to, I could just drop this, the things that I added onto it, and oh look, now I have a ton more damage than I had before. So like 39 million instead of 36. So yeah, it's like, yeah, you could say anything you want, but this here is a ridiculously good feeling setup, and I like it a lot. Is it worth like the 30-something Divines of Dance with Death? I don't think so. But if you do have it, take advantage. You will enjoy it. Now, this passive tree here is definitely set up, ready to go. There is one thing I want to bring note to. Thanks to Excoriate and Harness the Elements, the reason why I want to get electrocute or freeze into the build is because holy crap, that damage increase is nuts. And if it was freeze with Herald of Thunder, you would also get Ice Bite, which would be nuts. Absolutely nuts, but I'm just not able to find a way to get this on, so if somebody could figure this out and let me know, I would be ever so grateful. But with that said, I think this is everything for now. The builds for these will be into the description for anybody who wants to check out the Path of Buildings. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate the hell out of all of you. This has been a blast to put together, and yeah, this really does do everything. It's tanky, it's survivable, it's got huge damage with only 22 rage. If you were to get 30 rage onto it, oh look, you're at 38 million, and it just goes even higher and higher super easily. Like, yeah, there's a lot of ways to play with this, but as it stands, I think this here is the best all-around setup for it. I like this a lot. But yeah, thank you again, my dudes, for coming by. Like and sub if you actually enjoyed the content, and if you didn't, don't. Either way, I appreciate you all. See you later, and thank you again to Juan.